Okay, so what if you could pay for your next vacation, not with cash, but with a blog post? I know, it sounds pretty wild, right? But it's not a hypothetical anymore. Today, we're going to dive into a story about a blogger who did exactly that, and, well, they discovered that in this new digital economy, influence is a really powerful and kind of complicated currency.
So let's just jump right in with the big question, right? Can a single blog post actually be worth more than a paycheck? I mean, it sounds kind of crazy when you say it out loud, but in the digital world we're living in, value isn't always about dollars and cents. Honestly, I'm really curious to see how this whole thing plays out.
And that brings us right to the whole allure of the perk. You know, we're seeing more and more creators trading what they do, not for cash, but for products and experiences. And let's be real, it's a powerful incentive. The idea that you can get something you really love just for doing what you're already passionate about, that's super appealing.
Okay, so every good hustle has an origin story, right? And this one starts with pure, unadulterated passion. See, the blogger we're talking about today, they didn't set out to make a fortune. Not at all. Their site started as a genuine hobby, just a way to connect with other people over something they loved.
And this is the key thing to remember. Money was never the goal at the beginning. It was all about authenticity. It was about sharing a real passion and building a community around it. And it's that genuine foundation that ultimately gave their influence all its power.
So how does a passion project like that turn into something more? Well, it all starts with that very first transaction. Our blogger decided, hey, let's see if this community I've built can translate into something, tangible. This was basically their first real test in this new product for post world.
And you know what? The approach was surprisingly simple and direct. Step 1, they picked a brand they actually loved. That's key. Then they wrote a personal email. No boring, generic templates here. They proposed a really clear exchange. I'll write a post for you, you send me this product. And boom, just like that, they landed their very first product paycheck.
So what was that first big win worth? $50. Yeah, $50. I know, it's not exactly life-changing money, but it was a massive proof of concept. It was validation that their voice, their platform, their influence, it had a real, actual, quantifiable value.
Okay, so from a $50 beauty product, things escalated. And I mean quickly. The very next pitch wasn't for something you could, hold in your hand. Nope, it was for an entire experience. And this is where we see this whole model just scale up dramatically.
Get this, $1,500, $1,500. That's a 30 times increase from that first little beauty box. We are talking flights, hotels, the whole shebang, all in exchange for creating content. You have to imagine, this was the moment the blogger probably sat back and went, whoa, this whole influence thing is way more powerful than I thought.
But of course, with that kind of big value comes some pretty big expectations. And this is the turning point. This is where our blogger discovered the hidden costs of free. Because all of a sudden, that amazing trip started to feel a lot less like a fun perk and a whole lot more like a really demanding job. A job that, didn't come with a paycheck.
I mean, just listen to this quote. It captures the reality perfectly. It's not, hey, have a fun trip and post a few pics if you feel like it. Oh no, it's, we need 3 dedicated posts, 10 stories with swipe-ups, and all content must be pre-approved by our marketing team. Yikes. Suddenly all that creative freedom, poof, gone.
And this really gets to the heart of the whole thing, doesn't it? On one side, you have the perceived cost, $0. It's a free trip. But what's the actual cost? Well, that's measured in hours of labor, losing your creative control, and maybe even taking a hit to the very authenticity that made your blog valuable to begin with.
Let's really break down that actual cost, though. First, there's the time you spend not just creating, but also revising and editing to fit these super strict brand guidelines. Then there's the pressure to deliver results, to get those engagement numbers up, which can totally risk the trust you've built with your audience. And finally, there's just the mental load of having a hard deadline hanging over something that used to be your fun escape, your hobby.
So, after this whole roller coaster ride from a $50 product to a $1,500 trip, what's the real takeaway here? What's the actual value of influence? The key isn't that getting perks is good or bad. It's that you absolutely have to weigh the exciting benefits against the very real and often hidden work that's involved. And this chart here really sums it all up, doesn't it? The pros are super tempting, right? You get access to cool products and experiences, you build relationships in your industry, you grow your portfolio, but they're balanced by some pretty heavy costs, a huge time investment, losing your creative freedom, and that constant pressure to perform, which, let's be honest, is a fast track to burnout.
Ultimately, the biggest takeaway from this whole story is this: your influence has value. It doesn't matter if you have 10 followers or 10 million, it has real value. It's a currency. And so the most important question isn't really how much is it worth, but how do you choose to spend it? And that's really the thought we want to leave you with today. You know, as the lines between our work, our passions, and what we value get blurrier and blurrier, it's a question we all need to ask ourselves. In this new economy, what currency are you trading in? Is it your time, your money, your passion, or your influence?